Conservative government, led by Pierre Poilievre as housing minister, had a policy in place that refused to allow federal supports to be used to house young people who are homeless. If you're a young person running away from home, running away from custody, running away from shelters, you're running away from something which is a hell of a lot scarier than the street. And for young people, the street is one of the most dangerous places in this country they can live, especially if you're female, especially if you're Indigenous, especially if you're from the LGBTQ and free-spirited communities. This was the Conservative tough love housing policy, the one that Pierre Poilievre is promising to return Canada to, where we abandon kids on the street.
No, not this time. It's totally made up.
It's unacceptable. I'm here today to announce a housing strategy, re-announce a housing strategy, but to announce a housing strategy that Karina Gould has adopted as her party platform as she seeks to be leader of the Liberal Party. It's a platform that I think is going to address and end homelessness in this country, not simply manage it, because we know that ending homelessness is cheaper than managing it. And the city's experience tells us why. Running shelters is no place for people. People don't like shelters. That's why they stay in encampments. That's why they go live rough in ravines and in our parks. This policy aims to end homelessness by doing three very important things. First of all, build supportive housing. It has a housing accord in it that will show you how you marry housing capital investments with healthcare dollars to create the supportive housing network across the country we need to end homelessness once and for all in Canada. The second thing is it builds out the rental sector in an affordable way, in particular on co-op and social housing, but right across the rental housing market. And then finally, yes, first-time buyers need support. There needs to be a bridge to home ownership and a bridge, quite frankly, to middle-class security in this country, and the policy addresses that as well. But first and foremost, it ends homelessness, not by putting people in jails or forcing them into treatment, but by building supportive housing networks and putting the supports in place to care for people and end this crisis once and for all.
Finally!
A crisis which is, as I said, more expensive to manage than it is to solve, and more humane to solve than it is to manage. And with that, I'll pass it along to my colleague, Karina.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much, Adam. I'm so delighted to be here in Toronto and to be here with Adam Vaughan. We've been working together since 2015, and he is one of the foremost housing advocates in this country. And we know that we have a housing crisis in Canada, and it's going to take an industrial effort to make sure that we are housing people, getting first-time home buyers into the market, and providing affordable housing right across the housing continuum. And while the Liberal government has done a lot when it comes to our national housing strategy, there is much more that we can do. Housing needs to be a human right in this country, and we need to be able to fulfill that promise. And so, as Adam mentioned, there are three pillars to this plan. One is ending homelessness. We talk about the toxic drug supply, we talk about overdoses, we talk about addictions.
Prime Minister is doing is massively increasing the drug overdose crisis in this country. He has been providing taxpayer dollars for high-powered drugs that have flooded our streets and lowered the cost of hydromorphine on the streets by as much as 95% in Vancouver, leading to the deaths of 30,000 Canadians.
But if we are truly going to get people off the streets, we need to make sure that they have supportive housing to go to. So this plan would create an accord program with the provinces and territories where the federal government works to house people through an expanded rapid housing initiative, and then has agreements with provinces and territories to provide those wraparound supports to make sure that people can be successful and they can stay off of the streets and lead successful lives. It also means that we want to ensure that we are building more modular housing to rapidly increase the supply that we have available in our country. That is something that is so important. We know that we do not have enough houses in Canada to get people into the houses that they need. And so we need to build more modular homes that are climate resilient, faster and cheaper to build. We also need to accelerate housing production to build faster and smarter in Canada. When it comes to home ownership and market regulation, The housing market today is constrained by outdated models, zoning regulations, and a lack of investment in new housing infrastructure. We will partner with municipalities to streamline zoning and build more homes faster with a new round of housing accelerator funding. We also need to crack down on predatory speculation. And what Adam mentioned and what I'm very committed to is expanding support for the first-time home buyers program by boosting this initiative to make it up to 50% of an eligible mortgage. Right now it's between 5 and 10%, and we just don't see the uptake. But this can be fully repaid to the Government of Canada over a 25-year mortgage or at the time of sale. But in a community like Toronto, where it is extremely expensive to get into the market, this will help first-time home buyers get a toehold in and increase their equity over time. We also will offer a tax credit of $2,000 on the provincial land transfer tax for first-time home buyers. And when it comes to ending homelessness and tackling affordability, we cannot be a prosperous nation of opportunity if we allow homelessness to persist. This policy tackles homelessness at the root cause, focusing on expanding supportive housing programs and emergency assistance that provide not just shelter, but a path to stability. National supportive housing will ensure that people stay off the streets and that they are successful. And one of the most successful programs that we've had in Canada that the federal government has got out of the business of doing is cooperative housing. I want to supercharge cooperative housing models in this country, which provide access to housing across this continuum of affordability. We need to tackle homelessness and we need to tackle affordability. Housing is a human right, and this is something that we can do as Canadians. It is a national project and it is an imperative for us to do, because every Canadian should have access to a safe and affordable and dignified place to live.
Do you expect to have the money, and how difficult will it be to raise the next $125,000 for the following deadline in 11 days?
So look, the party has put forward an extremely aggressive fundraising deadline. They have tried to make it as hard as possible for only a few candidates to participate in this race. But what I can tell you is my campaign is powered by people. 85% of my donations are $200 or less, and I have received support from thousands of people across this country. We're doing everything to meet those fundraising deadlines, and I have to say that I am buoyed by the incredible support that I am getting from everyday Canadians. My campaign doesn't have the deep pockets of some of the other candidates, but what it does have is people power.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
And I have to say that we have had great fundraising results, and we're going to keep going. So despite the efforts of the party establishment to keep people out of this race, I'm in it and I'm excited about it.